In this Thursday night matchup, we have a redemption game. Both teams losing their previous matchup by game winning field goals. What team do you think will become the top contender in the AFC North?
Join us as we dissect this matchup and give you that missing piece that could put you one step ahead of the field for all of your DFS lineups.
Welcome to DFS Insights. I'm David Geislinger, and I'm joined by my cousin David Grant Jr., your seasoned DFS pro. The teams up on the block are the Cincinnati Bengals at the Baltimore Ravens. Let's start off with a quick recap of last Sunday Night Football's lineups.
Hey, that sounds good, but before we get into the breakdown, I did want to mention please check the description below and click the link to enter your free lineup to see how you stack up against me and David for your chance to win quite a few different awesome prizes. So yeah, about recapping the last game, it was the Jets versus the Raiders, and yeah, how'd you how exciting was that game for you to watch?
Uh, well, it was exciting because I had a few lineups in. It was least exciting when they didn't go nearly as planned.
This is true. I did have a lot of Josh Jacobs as my MVP, as did I'm sure most people, but and him fumbling the ball in the fourth quarter on a great drive, and had he scored that touchdown, that I just there's a couple of different things that could have happened there that just really would have made my fantasy night, and unfortunately things did not go that way. Hey, we can't win them all. That's all right. I mean, I know I still made a little bit of money, but the lineup that we projected, you know, didn't didn't quite get there, but it was close. It was
Yeah,
close.
it was a forgettable lineup, just like it was a forgettable match.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
very
so,
true.
so
Very true. Hey,
go ahead.
hey, unless we see Aaron Rodgers coming back mid-December, I mean, like I'm hearing.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's go ahead and move on to this way more entertaining matchup between these AFC North contenders here, the Bengals and the Ravens. But let's go ahead and swing it over to you so you can start breaking down this game.
Yeah, that's man, we finally have an exciting game here that I've been looking forward to breaking down. We've been breaking down, it feels like the Jets for the last 3 weeks. I mean, it feels like longer than that, but yeah, this is great. We finally got a prime time divisional game. We got the 5-4 Bengals going against the 7-3 Ravens, and yeah, this is a important game. I mean, obviously for both teams, especially for Cincinnati. As we all know, the Ravens won the first match in week 2. That was a close game, 24-27. However, this matchup, due to injuries, I do think is going to play out a little bit differently, and and it'll be interesting because that's part of football. It's a endurance race, not a sprint, and so as you can see here, the spread, the Ravens here are favored by 3.5 points. So that's typically just because they're the home team is why it's really an even game, but they're going to be favored since they're at home. Um, what how do you see these offense stacking up against each other?
Yeah, I see him pretty. I don't want to say evenly matched. I think obviously the Ravens are the better team. I mean, clearly looking at every aspect, every rating that is provided up here on the screen: offensive, defensive, passing, rushing. Um, and I believe they just got outbeat a little bit on the receiving end, but last matchup in week 2, it was half a Burrow basically that was playing. He was on one leg, so and it was still a close game. Uh, what I would believe you said it was 27-24, so that's a 51 game total, and I believe the over under currently sitting at 46. And I could
Okay.
I could see that being basically kind of how this matchup plays out, 27-24, and with the Ravens, probably not covering the spread. I'm at three and
Yeah.
a half.
Mm.
I see it being a little bit closer. This is I think a do or die. Basically, we're getting to that point for the Bengals. I mean, they're sitting at the bottom of the AFC North. That is a competitive division right now. They're sitting at the bottom at 5-4. Ravens are sitting at the top at 7-3.
Yeah.
So with the win for the Bengals, they could be sitting pretty good. We'll have to see. Obviously, the Bengals um, next few contenders are pretty tough. They got this, the Steelers, Jaguars ahead of them, but the Ravens also have, they have a little easier Chargers and Rams. So,
Yeah. Yep.
that's kind of how I see it. I think the Ravens are the better team. They clearly, I think, are going to be more of a ground and pound team during this one. It seems like they run. Clearly they run the ball dang near half their snaps, 43%. So,
Yeah.
and that's including Lamar, and they have basically a three running back committee. So, and with Burrow, one of his big receivers is out this matchup. T. Higgins won't be playing, and he was, one that got 2 touchdowns in week 2.
Yeah, yeah, that's very true. And then it also looks like Odell for Baltimore. It looks like he's most likely going to be out. I mean, we're on a short week, and I mean, again, he's kind of been an injury-prone type guy, and it is his knee. So, from what I guess we'll really find out tomorrow, since we shoot this podcast on Tuesday evening. So sometimes we don't fully get the news. So it is always important for you guys out there that are watching this. Always remember to follow the news. It's very important, especially when you're putting money on these games and constructing your lineups. So definitely keep your eye. Again, it looks like T. Higgins is not going to be playing. It looks like Odell Beckham is not going to be playing, but that could always change. I think with Beckham going out, that I think that is gonna allow someone like Flowers to maybe get a couple extra targets. Um, Again, like you're mentioning, that they have a 3 running back committee. So it'll be interesting, and that's not counting Lamar Jackson. So really, they have like 4 running backs, and it'll be. I'm just excited for the game and to see some great football. I mean, this should be, like you said, the Bengals. They're in a must-win situation here. If they're gonna, have have hopes to make the playoffs, they have to take this game in Baltimore. So this is going to be an exciting game for sure.
And speaking of that, running back committee, Gus Edwards, what is his name? Keaton Mitchell, the new
Mitchell.
guy, and then Hill and Lamar Jackson. Let's go ahead and head over to this player analysis and start breaking down these players for our audience here.
Yeah, that sounds great. We could even kind of start it off with the running backs, not named Lamar Jackson. I mean, oh wait, he's a quarterback, but obviously also extremely good on the feet. So, you know, the way I see this game kind of playing out is Baltimore is going to be a run heavy game. It's going to be a run heavy offense. They're really going to want to dominate the time of possession, and they're going to do that through the running back by committee. And Keaton Hall, he's at 8,500. Man, over these last 2 weeks, he has really crushed it. He has a touchdown in each game. He had 9 rushing attempts against Seattle for 138 yards. He had 3 rushing attempts for 34 yards, and then 1 of 2 targets he caught for 32 yards. That's looking like a great play at 8,500. And then I believe Justice Hall is the rookie, if
Justice
I'm not.
Hill. No,
I'm sorry, Justice Hill.
Mitchell's the rookie. Justice Hill is
Okay, yeah, I've been getting some of them mixed up since there's been since there's been a couple of them, and I would before before the pod I was reading how with yeah Mitchell's emergence Sunday could alter Baltimore's backfields, uh, the way that they're how the way they're going to come down the stretch and who they're going to be using, because the rookie's been doing so well. That must be why they bumped him up in salary a little bit here,
yeah.
for this game. So, yeah, so Justice Hills dropped down to 7,000, and yeah, it's kind of crazy. His rushing attempts, 2 last game, 13 against Seattle, 4, 4, 8, and then, his targets, 0, 1, 4, 1, um, and he only has, looks like obviously he had started out pretty strong. He had 2 touchdowns in the first game, a touchdown against Pittsburgh, and then after that, it seems like the rookie probably, started stepping up as well as the other one, Trayvon Williams, um, who also is getting, a couple attempts. So yeah, it's actually really looking like Keaton Mitchell here is going to be the other main guy here besides Lamar Jackson. What are your thoughts on the running game and how Baltimore's going to be approaching stuff here?
Yeah, so yeah, I think it's going to be as you we was like 43% running. So I clearly probably going to lean on that too. And just looking over at some stats here, Baltimore, um, or excuse me, yeah, Cincinnati gives up last 9 games or so about 93 yards to the rushing, and also Cincinnati gives up about 12-15% more fantasy points to running backs when they're actually the away team. So that's
Oh,
an
okay.
interesting fact here too. So the only issue I do have with the running back game is which one do you choose? Right?
Yeah.
It's a committee. So clearly, right now, I'm seeing Gus Edwards is the RB1. Keaton Mitchell would be the RB2, and Justice Hill is RB3. I believe that Keaton Mitchell, excuse me, just got bumped up from the RB3 to RB2 this previous game because he has been doing so well. He only really has been doing great. What you would call it, the last 3 games. I don't even think he's had a carry before the last 3 games. To be honest, yeah,
So,
yeah, the last 2 games.
yeah.
Excuse me. So, um, does he get that? Does he outdo Gus Edwards? I see Gus Edwards as more that Latavius Murray kind of thing. Fournette,
Yeah, I was just
that
thinking
goal
that.
line back. He Gus Edwards has a ton of rushing touchdowns here. 1, 2, 3, 1, and he also has, I believe, 7 rushing red zone rushes for when they're in the red zone. He's had 7. Was it 7? Let me look that up real quick. Uh, no, excuse me. He's had 14 red zone tries, and
Okay.
he's gotten 7 touchdowns off of it.
Huh.
So uh, clearly they're going to be using him if they do get into the red zone. Mitchell's kind of made his name. He's fast, he's quick, he's agile. So you're going to kind of relying on him for the yards plus hopefully
Yes.
getting that breakaway touchdown. Lamar Jackson as a running, I don't know. Just last game he didn't see as agile as he used to. He did get a few runs in there. I do, he always has that running ability. I'm not saying he doesn't, but I
So,
mean,
so he did go against Cleveland though, and they
yeah,
have played Cleveland twice. And if we do look back, October 1st when they did play, he had 2 rushing touchdowns. So I
Yep.
mean, Cleveland does have, they have one of a top defense, a
Yeah.
top 10. I mean, if not, uh, I don't
Yeah.
know if I'd say top 5. I mean, I think some people might. I'm biased.
Well,
I'm going San Francisco all the way, but that's neither here nor there.
yeah.
Um,
No, it looks like his rushing attempts, he's still rushing 8, 10, 5, 9. So he is rushing. It's just, I don't know, just every time, at least last season, Lamar Jackson rushes for 100, Lamar Jackson rushes for 150. It's like, okay,
yeah,
dude, like, throw the ball. But now just,
yeah, yeah,
yeah. So that's kind of that. And then moving over to kind of the running game for Cincinnati, which is basically Joe Mixon. I mean,
yeah, for sure. That's
Trey, what is his name? Williams. Yeah, Trayvon Williams. He's a non-factor. I wouldn't even. I mean, maybe in the larger tournaments, and that's maybe if you're doing a 150 entry lineup, maybe throw him in like 10, 5 maybe. But he I don't see him as a factor at all. I mean,
yeah, that's fair.
zero rushing, 3, 2, 0. I mean, not even really in even the target game. He hasn't gotten a touchdown. I just see Cincinnati as more of a throwing team, especially with their, you know, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Boyd. Obviously, they're short Higgins now, so who's
And
going to be taking those targets. So kind
man,
of going over here to the Bengals. Who do you see? How do you see them based on these players here?
yeah, I think man, not having T. Higgins is gonna be it's gonna be huge. That's gonna be a big loss. I think Jamar Chase is really gonna have to step up and have a AJ Brown uh type of performance and really get out there and get physical and make some things happen because I think Joe Burrow's trust in Boyd after dropping that touchdown pass last game might be a little shaky. I mean, that arguably cost them the game. I mean, if he catches that, it's not coming down to a final field goal or anything like that. Um, and man, I feel bad, but again, it's any given Sunday. We're on to the next Sunday. I'm sure that could be erased from everybody's mind. And if Boyd can get going early, that would be someone, uh, someone's going to have to step up and do something. And Mixon, as far as the running game for Cincinnati, uh, Mixon does have a rushing touchdown in each of the last 3 games. After kind of almost being non-existent, the beginning of the year. It is they're a hard team to judge because, as we all know, the first 3 games, arguably 4, Joe Burrow was hurt. It was clear he was on one leg, so it's really hard to even take any of those games into consideration. So I expect this game to be a little bit similar, but then also not. I mean, now we have other guys who are injured. Um, if Baltimore is really controlling the ball by running it and really eating up the clock, and they are able to take a lead going into halftime, then that is going to force Burrow to throw the ball, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, you saw him how he picked apart the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, I mean, that's one of the best performances I've seen by him pretty much ever,
Yeah,
and he completely picked him apart. And he's coming off back to back, you know, 350-yard passing games, 2 touchdowns. He did have 2 interceptions against Houston, and a fumble. That's a little rough. But let's
and those
see.
were in those were in crunch time too. So that
Yeah,
was
yeah, uh,
the time not to throw those.
yeah, yeah, for
So
sure. Um, and yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. I think at this point we might want to even just kind of hop over. I don't want to start talking about salaries, and here, where
Well,
I think if we bring up the lineups and kind of transition over to that and the lineups that we're building, then that way we can talk a little bit about the salaries and kind of get that going. How do you feel about that?
yeah, let me just mention a few things about the receivers and stuff for the Cincinnati. So Jamar Chase, as you mentioned, he needs to step it up. He has been targeted at least 6 times in the past 3 games. So obviously now with T Higgins out, it's just going to be more. I maybe see Boyd picking up a little bit of that slack, and then maybe um, the what is his name, Trenton Irvin getting a few extra targets, but I still see him kind of as a non-factor. However, Baltimore had it only allows their sixth and allowing only about 129 yards to receivers in the last 9 games. Um, they allow 42% less fantasy points when they're an actual favorite team. So that's an interesting stat there. Uh,
Okay.
and yeah, so as far as their pass catchers, Burrow really has that. The option Jamar Chase, Boyd, and this guy came out of nowhere. I remember 3 games ago, or a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, we were making the joke, who the hell is Drew Sample? This guy, this tight end out of
Yeah.
nowhere, Irv Smith. Why are these two tight ends getting these touchdowns? And now here you have this Tanner Hudson tight end who's getting 7 targets, 5 targets the
Mm,
last 2 games. So it's like, who is this guy? And now it's saying that he's their tight end one. So
wow. Okay.
um, I don't know who this guy is. um,
Yeah.
as far as the Ravens passing attack, Mark Andrews, he's their clear red zone target person. Zay Flowers has been obviously their number one receiver, and other than that, Odell Beckham, does he play? Did he have a touchdown last game? Yes. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to
Yeah.
play him, he is 8K, but we'll talk about the salaries here. But Bateman, I don't really like him too much, and Aguilar, they're just down. And with the Ravens dang near running the ball 50% of the time, I can see Mark Andrews and Zay Flowers just eating up that target share. So, you know,
Yeah.
that's kind of how that's the player breakdown. So let's go ahead and, like you mentioned earlier, head over here to your lineup, and then we can start, getting into the thought process with, including the salaries and everything.
Yeah, and ju- uh, just before we go over to that, I quickly pulled up to see. It looks like Tanner Hudson, the Cincinnati tight end. Man, November 1st, he was signed signed to Cincinnati's active roster off the practice squad Wednesday, and Hudson was elevated from the practice squad in weeks 3 and 4 while Irv Smith dealt with a hamstring injury, and the 6'5" tight end held his own with 4 catches, 48 yards on 6 targets across those 2 games. Hudson's 30 yards in week 3 are more than Irv Smith has had in any game the entire season. And Irv Smith had lost a fumble in the Bengals' previous game. So perhaps Hudson can carve out a sizable pass catching role if Cincinnati is unhappy with the current state of the tight end room. So,
Yeah.
hey, a guy gets injured and then isn't playing very well, and before you know it, you're getting called up from the practice squad and immediately making an impact and difference. So, that was a great find. And again, he at 7K. I mean, that could be a great, hopefully low owned guy. Um, and again, yeah, the one week it was Sample, the other week it was Hudson. So it'll be interesting to see what Cincinnati does, with that, and especially missing T. Higgins if he ends up for sure being out. But anyway, over to the lineup that I'll be entering in the Giant GPP. Um, I'm pulling that up right now. So at MVP, I'm going to be going what I'm sure will be considered pretty dang chalky, as if you ever go with a quarterback there, those are going to be normally the two chalkiest picks. I'll be going with Lamar Jackson. Um, at home, they're 7-3. This could really shut out the divisional rival. They'll have the 2-0 wins over them, and I just see Lamar balling out because he's going to ball out. It's prime time. He's going to come to play, and I'm actually, if you notice on here, I'm doing a 4-1 Baltimore stack. Um, after seeing, that might this might change a little bit depending on the Odell Beckham injury and on T. Higgins. I mean, I know we're saying as if they are out, but they're not out until they're officially ruled out. Um, but I am going with Gus Edwards. The Cincinnati's run defense has not been all that great, and as you mentioned, he's getting the bulk of the carries, and he's got rushing touchdowns. As you mentioned, you had one last game, two the game before that, three the game before that, one the game before that. So he he's been crushing. Um, I will be going, yeah, and again, I'm sure Boyd is also going to be chalky. But at 12 targets last game, and that's with T. Higgins. I can only imagine, the targets he'll be getting if T. Higgins is out. It'll be interesting to see how many extra targets he gets, or if those end up going to some of those tight ends. But either way, um, if I'm going a 4-1 Baltimore type lineup, I would go with the Cincinnati wide receiver because that's me saying Baltimore is going to be ahead and Cincinnati will be needing to throw the ball in order, in that fourth quarter, possibly even in the third quarter. And even if I'm doing a 3-2 Baltimore, I'd be looking to go two wide receivers or a wide receiver and a tight end from Cincinnati. I'm going with Justin Tucker, the kicker. This dude's been around for ages. This dude, typically crushes. I mean, against Tennessee, he went 6 for 6. He went 3 for 3 against Seattle. He's got the upside of 19 fantasy points. I know in the Cincinnati game, he went 2 for 3, and then had the 3 extra points. So I like, I like having a kicker in there, and then I like Flowers, especially if OBJ is going to be out. Flowers has been great. His targets are great. It looks like the guy's, he's catching the ball 6 of 8, 4 for 6, 5 for 7, 1 for 1, 5 for 6. He hasn't been in the end zone here in a minute, but I have a feeling that could change come Thursday. So, I will be the first to admit, a little bit chalky for the larger lineup. I did leave 1,500 salary on here. I am going to wait for some of this injury news and whatnot to come out, but I do see this as a money-making lineup. Might be smarter to put this into a single entry type of a lineup instead, or more of a cash game structured type lineup instead of the giant one. But nonetheless, this is a money-making lineup one way or the other. What are some of your thoughts on the lineup that I made here, DP?
Yeah, no, I mean, so I brushed off my optimizer for this matchup, and then maybe one day once I get it fine tuned to my liking, I can roll that out here to our audience. But I mean, just that. I mean, I was getting 90%, 95% Lamar Jackson MVP. I mean, it's very hard. He is a very terrific athlete with the running ability. And he does, have that throwing capability too. It's just kind of hard. I mean, he's like a last year Josh Allen, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to say this year because something's going on there. But so just with the upside of the running potential, he's a clear MVP to me. Um, uh, I agree there. Gus Edwards, yeah, with the running attack, and him on paper right now being the RB1, that's good. Justin Tucker, I will have him in quite a bit of my lineups. As you'll see in the next slide, I don't actually have him in this lineup. But in all reality, the Ravens just need to get the ball to the 50, and then Justin Tucker can kick a field goal from the 50. I mean,
Yeah,
he can
yeah,
dang near hit
yep.
like a 70-yard field goal. So there's high, obviously, potential for points there. Tyler Boyd, he would have had an amazing game with 11 targets, 12 targets if he would have just caught that ball in the end zone. I mean, that's a
Man,
touchdown. Obviously, then you're boosting, quite a
yeah.
bit of fantasy points there. And then Zay Flowers is, you know, outside of Mark Andrews, I think that really only target share really. To be honest, I mean Odell Beckham, he might have got a touchdown, but I think he only had 2 or 3 targets. So he's
It-
not a highly targeted receiver there. So
and
he does have a few touchdowns, but if you want to count on that, then I mean you're luckier than I am, I guess.
I know, right? And I did just swap out Justin Tucker and went ahead and put in Tanner Hudson, that tight end from Cincinnati. And by doing that, that actually leaves 3,500 on the table. And now I'm even set up, 3-2, and because in game one it was a close game. It was 24-27. The spread here is 3.5. I do, that I see Cincinnati coming out and playing a playoff type. This should feel like a playoff game. So, um, I think by doing that, it by having that extra salary left on the table, adding that extra Cincinnati guy who can catch the ball, whose target share looks like it is going up, um, then I think that would be more the type of a lineup for this big GPP, the $9 one, without having many ties and that type of stuff. So that would be my one caveat of changing the lineup that I do have here on the screen. So for all you guys out there, just take that into an account. I went ahead and just made the change and locked that in. So yeah, good luck with anyone who locks that in, and I hope you make a bunch of money and tie with me.
Nice. Yeah.
So,
No,
so
I can see that being a little bit more towards the GPP, the larger field, the 100K to first tournament.
so
Uh,
let's hop on over. So let's see what you're bringing to the table.
all right, here we go. So kind of, I'm not going to rehash Lamar Jackson as previously stated. His upside is obviously there, and I believe that this game, he's gonna show it. I could see potentially one touchdown and maybe throwing one, but he'll have the yards on rushing too. Then I also want Gus Edwards because, like I said, the Ravens are a run heavy team, so that's why I actually want Gus Edwards and Keaton Mitchell. So double dip in there. So if Keaton Mitchell can get 100 yards or so and maybe sneak in a touchdown, that'd be great. Then Ravens come down for another drive and then get that goal line touchdown or whatever goal line opportunity would go to Gus Edwards clearly. So that's why I'm putting both of them in. And then Mark Andrews, he's had 5 red zone targets in the past 3 games. He's averaging 16 fantasy points against Cincinnati. Excuse me, he got 16 fantasy points against Cincinnati. He's averaging over the past 2 years 12 and a half fantasy points against Cincinnati.
Ooh, okay, good to
So
know.
Cincinnati's ranked 24th against giving up touchdowns to tight ends, and they're also ranked 30th in giving up yards to tight ends. So
Uh, ooh,
uh, clearly, with that, Mark Andrews and Lamar Jackson, they do have a connection. It's not,
yeah,
it's not rocket science. It's I could put on the same level field, maybe a little bit less, like Mahomes and Kelsey. When you think of a quarterback tight end combo, it's either Mahomes, Kelsey, Lamar Jackson, Mark
and
Andrews. I
I
mean,
I
maybe
would agree.
Hawkinson's maybe coming into play here and there, maybe Laporta too, but they still got a little bit to earn there, at least in my book. But
Hey, the only reason you're not saying the word George Kittle is because the Niners have had 100 different quarterbacks. So it's like, you know, you yeah, man, I'm just gonna leave it at that. But
And then I just threw in the kicker for Cincinnati to kind of leave money on the table. I could probably drop that down to that tight end based on if I wanted to get a little bit more. Um, I would obviously be entering in multiple lineups. So to be honest, that might be an alteration to this lineup. Would just be to substitute out the kicker. However, I see Cincinnati getting down, down the field quite a bit, but Joe Burrow, tendency to just throw bad passes when it matters in the end zone interceptions, and I see this game, like I said, in 24. I see 2, 3 maybe field goals from Cincinnati. So I'm hoping he can sneak out. Give me 9, 10 points. That's kind of what I'm banking on from McPherson here. So, uh,
okay.
what do you? I mean, what? How do you see this one at least
Yeah, no,
from
I mean,
your?
I'm definitely with you. I'm feeling the 4-1 Baltimore. I mean, my only reservation is I think we are going to see just a hungry, prepared Cincinnati team. Um, however, just because they're prepared, I mean, they're going against a 7-3 Baltimore team who's, even though they're coming off a loss, they're still 7-3 and looking great. So, um, going with the, uh, I believe, I'm going to call it, I was going to say the triple running back, but technically it's the double running back. Um, that could be a little. I mean, I guess it's contrarian, so that's nice. I think that might be a good way to keep the ownership down. It is kind of counting on it's just tough when one of them. But here, before I give you my full assessment, so if I look at Gus Edwards, he's obviously the main guy that's taking the ball in, and when we look down at Mitchell, um, I mean, and he's also getting it. So actually, that's actually a great play. So I can't. And then Mark Andrews and McPherson. I mean, yeah, you're basically saying, hey, I'm Baltimore. I'm going to run it down your throat. If not, I'll have a couple dump offs to my tight end who is averaging, over that 10, 12 fantasy point a game when we play. And our defense is going to show up, show out, and we're going to hold you to a couple field goals and send you home packing for the year. So, I mean, I could definitely see that game script coming out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I like.
Yeah. So let us know what you think. Hit that like button and put your comments and on our breakdowns and our thought processes and what lineup do you want to enter, or are you going to be entering in both? So we'd like to hear your feedback and down in the comments below, and we do our best to look at all the comments, any updates. Also pay attention, subscribe, so in case any new information comes out, it'll always be a pinned comment down there, so that way you guys will be as informed, if not more than we are.
And,
So
yep. Hey, and as long as you've liked the video, subscribe, go ahead and don't forget to look in the description. We'll be posting a free 100-person entry tournament on FanDuel for this single game matchup. And as long as we'll have the information down in the description, but you will have a chance to win some prizes if you're able to put in a lineup that beats not only me, but beats my cousin David. And then you also have to take first place in the lineup. So by doing all that, we are giving away some free stuff. So last time I checked, hey, do you like free stuff, David? Because I like free stuff.
yeah, nah, every once in a while,
You know,
no.
you know, he, here and there. So yeah, with that, hey, this is gonna be a great game. I'm excited to have it come up. I'll be putting in. I'm hoping to put in 20, 25 lineups. We'll see how the injury news comes out.
Yeah.
But
All right,
you
and
know,
Yeah, well, we're not quite done yet, so let's go ahead and do our, our famous predictions here. So who you looking at MVP, and who you looking at as your best value play for this matchup?
Yeah, yeah. I was so excited about the game. I almost forgot. So MVP, I'm I always feel bad when it's like I go the chalkiest player there, and I feel like I do that typically week after week. However, on FanDuel single game, you have to have the highest fantasy scoring person raw point has to be there. So I mean, when that person is more or less clearly going to be usually a quarterback, or someone, especially when it's Lamar Jackson, you know, it's just hard to get away from that. So, and that's not to say, if I'm making 20 lineups, I'm still gonna have exposure elsewhere, but I will have, 75% exposure to Lamar Jackson. So he's definitely the MVP. And then as far as like my value play, um, I it's it's a little tough. The funny thing is, I'm sure I can now feel where you're going with Hudson, so I don't want to steal yours. And what's funny is the second we hop on the Hudson train, you already know what's going to happen. That means Mr. Sample is actually going to be the one who's
Yeah,
now
probably.
going to go back and get the touchdown. So I'm going to go back to Sample because it sounds like Irwin is the one who's losing his gig here, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Sample get a couple extra targets or something. It sounds like some of these tight ends might be the ones getting the extra targets with T. Higgins being out. So I'm going to go ahead and say Mr. Drew Sample would be my value pick here at 6,500 and low owned.
Yeah, sorry if everybody sees me coughing. I have a little cold here, so apologize. That try to keep that muted so it's off stream here. But yeah, no, I agree obviously with Lamar Jackson as all the information that I've pulled in. Then I obviously ran it through my optimizer for however good I feel that is, and it's just literally it comes down to basically Lamar or Burrow, where Lamar was like 95% of that. So, can I see situations where he would it if Gus Edwards has another 3 touchdown game? Yeah, clearly can see that. But the likelihood is, I believe Lamar Jackson will be the MVP, similar to what you said. As far as the sample, uh, yeah, I'm never gonna say never because obviously it happened. But you know, do I think it happened again? Do I think this Hudson guy is going to come out and get another 5, 6 things? I mean, Baltimore's fourth ranked against tight ends, only giving up about 40 yards. They're second against tight ends, and for touchdowns in the last 9 games, only allowing 0.1 touchdowns. So
Ooh,
basically less than a touchdown a game. So
so you're
basically one
saying
touch.
there's a chance?
Yeah,
You're saying there's a chance.
yeah. So one touchdown basically in the last 9 games for a tight end. He actually he did move from tight end 4 to tight end 1 in the depth chart. So Hudson will be clearly getting probably the bulk of it. However, we did see Sample and Irv Smith get touchdowns in what was it 2 weeks ago or so. So there is a chance that if Sample does pull off that, uh, he could be a good value pick. However, I think my value pick, it might not seem like a value pick just because, but I think it's going to be Keaton Mitchell. I mean, he's at
Yeah, yeah,
8,500, and I can
yeah.
clearly see him getting 15, 20 points.
Yeah,
He has the
I
explosive
agree.
ability to get, that 40, 50-yard touchdown run and then, just be there. I mean, 138 yards on 9 carries and a touchdown. So he didn't do, I guess, as good against Cleveland, but like I said, he still got a touchdown. He only got three carries that time, 34 yards. So
and on that game, I mean, he had only one catch, but it was for 32
Yeah.
yards. I mean,
So yeah, like I said, so he's only been playing basically 2 games. So do they have footage on him to maintain, put that, to him? We're about to find out.
yeah, we will
But
see.
yeah, that's what I'm gonna go. I mean, he is so obviously he has to score higher to be that value pick, but I think he's gonna take it. Well, at least based on my lineup, I hope he does. So,
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
all right, so that I guess my prediction for the end of the game, Ravens. Let's go. Ravens 30, Cincinnati 27.
Okay. I'm gonna go. Oh man, it's like everything inside of me is saying Baltimore, but it's like you can't ever count out Joe Burrow. Like this is it. This is really their season on the line here for the playoffs. Um, man, you know what? Just to make things fun, and I mean, I do believe this is an outcome. If they can come together without T Higgins, that's the tough part. Them being down T Higgins is rough, but I'm gonna put some belief here in Joe Burrow just to have him make the season be interesting, and I'm gonna say Cincinnati pulls it out by by 6, and it's gonna be man. I'm gonna say 24, 24-30 Cincinnati,
All right, all
which
right.
is crazy. I mean, hey, to say that they're going to score 30 points on Baltimore's defense, let me just double check. You know what? No one's even scored over 30 on Baltimore's defense. Let me go ahead and wind that back so that I'm not too out of line here. Um, I'm going to have to say, yeah, because Baltimore controls the ball with the run. So if Cincinnati is to pull it out, it's going to probably be more of like a 17 to man, like oh man, 17-10, 7. I'm going to go 17-13 Cincinnati. Yeah.
Nice. So, yeah.
So,
So the whatchamacallit, yeah, the Ravens defense has given up season wide 12.4 points they're averaging. They're allowing
they're allowing
12
yeah,
points.
yeah.
Only
Yeah, that's
170 yards passing.
yeah, I mean, yeah, probably not the time to be going against it. And again, I wouldn't. Again, my lineups are not going to reflect that prediction right there. I'm going to be completely transparent with you guys. I'd never lie. Um, I just somehow, some way, seeing them pulling it out. I'm not. I just I I can't give up on Joe Burrow just yet. I'm going to give up on him in my most of my lineups. Don't get me wrong. He's going to be in, 20%, 25% of my lineups here, but uh man, it'll just be crazy because that's going to be no Buffalo Bills in the playoffs and no Cincinnati. I mean, wow. It's going to make the playoffs interesting.
Yeah. All right. With that, you guys have good
Yeah.
good luck in your lineups. Like I said, please put like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss. We try to cover every Thursday night game and also Sunday night game. So just you know like I said, stay tuned.
Yes,
Take
sir.
yeah, take care.